The risks for you as a director when a company is going into a formal insolvency process can come from a number of different directions. And clearly it depends to a large extent on how you've acted in the run-up to the insolvency process. There are personal risks that come out of the insolvency proceedings themselves, or the investigations that the insolvency practitioner will be bound to investigate. Things like transactions at undervalue, if you've actually committed a preference, or even if you've been guilty of wrongful trading. And each of those types of proceedings can have quite serious personal consequences for the directors. There's also a sort of sweep-up cause of action which administrators and liquidators can look at, and that's called misfeasance. Alternatively, there is a requirement for every insolvency practitioner to produce a report or a return on the director's conduct in the run-up to an insolvency. And if those proceedings were successful, then you could find yourselves disqualified from acting as a director for a period of time. Typically, the courts would decide, but it could be anything from, you could be disqualified for anything from 3 to a 15-year period. I think the most common issues giving rise to a cause of action against directors following an insolvency are in relation to either where the directors have decided to sell assets, possibly for the right reasons, but if they're to a connected party, inevitably the insolvency practitioner will be looking to see whether there has been a sale at an undervalue. Perhaps the most common situation, and this applies to many owner-managed businesses, is that many will have been motivated to take their remuneration in way of dividends. And of course, on a week-to-week, month-in, month-out basis, how does that work? Well, the directors continue to draw money out of the business. It gets debited to their loan account, and they'll wait until the end of the financial year to restore that overdrawn loan account by the voting of a dividend. The risk, of course, is if you don't get to the end of the year and or you haven't got the distributable reserves, you end up with an overdrawn loan account, which is a debt to the company, and you have the administrator or liquidator pursuing you for that debt. I know, because I've done it, and I've had a director made bankrupt because he wasn't able to restore the £60,000 which he'd had out, arguably as a salary, looking to do it for the right reasons because he thought he was saving employers' national insurance, but ultimately, if the insolvency shutters come down, it left him personally liable to repay that debt. And so in those circumstances, it would have been much better from a personal risk perspective if he'd have just continued to draw his salary as an employee rather than waiting to take a dividend at the end of the year. The other interesting area is where the directors have probably helped finance the business over the last couple of years or so, and again, rather than taking salary, they decide to repay themselves against their loan account. And in those circumstances, directors are potentially at risk, because if they did it with the knowledge that the company was insolvent, then it is presumed that they are actually preferring themselves. And of course, a liquidator or administrator can ask for that position to be restored. So although you think you're saving, again, the national insurance cost by not taking a salary, the withdrawal of those funds could potentially leave you with a claim to actually put the monies back to restore the position.